Welcome to the Wind Up with Will. This is your host, Will Lewis here. And today, the long awaited video that I've been wanting to do for a while now, at least for a little over a week, maybe 2 weeks, is my NHL season predictions. I know, for like 2 weeks into the NHL, 2 to 3-ish weeks. I guess really more like three-ish weeks into the NHL season. Man, I'm really misspeaking here. The NHL season started kind of mid to early October. So I guess it's almost been 4 weeks now. I've just not had time to sit down, make some predictions, look at some possibilities for who can win some awards. Um, but I have it now, and I'm gonna do my best with these predictions. I don't follow the NHL quite as closely as I do football or baseball, but I do follow it. I do know things about it, the inner workings, know some of the awards, and some players that might possibly win those. Hopefully, my predictions are right, but we'll see. And I'm a fan. I'm a fan, so I'm biased, as you can tell. I'm a New York Rangers fan, so some of my predictions might be biased. I might be a bit of a homer, but that's how a lot of us fans are. But getting into my predictions for the NHL season, and the NHL, similar to the NBA, there's an Eastern and Western Conference, and I have done who I think will place where in the standings, and how the postseason is going to go, and then I'll get into the awards, the end of season awards and whatnot. So in the Eastern Conference here, I've done it by divisions. So in the Eastern Conference, in the Metropolitan Division, I have the team winning the division is the New York Rangers, of course. The sleek blue shirts who are up and coming, great talent. The Rangers are a good team, and this isn't just me being biased or being homer. They are a really solid team. A couple years ago, Igor Shesterkin won the Vezina for best goaltender. Adam Fox a few years ago won the Norris Trophy for best defenseman. Artemi Panarin, the guy whose jersey I'm wearing here, it's kind of hard to see, number 10. The jersey is a little big on me. But number 10, Artemi Panarin, one of the best passers in the game, great at getting assists. He's a phenomenal player. A little older, he's in his early 30s, but a great player. The Rangers have a great center in Mika Zibanejad. They've got some good older players like Vincent Trocheck. They're a solid team. They've got good defensemen. They got a good backup goaltender, Jonathan Quick, who's won a couple Stanley Cups. One of them, unfortunately, against my Rangers. But they have a solid team. They brought in new coach Peter Laviolette, who did great things with the Nashville Predators. I was a fan of him when he was there. I also like the Predators as well. I got to pull for the Tennessee teams close by. But I think they are a solid team. They've got a really good roster, and if they can stay healthy, this team has potential to do some damage in the postseason. So I have them picked one in the standings. I know they're currently one in the standings now, but I want to preface with saying that my picks here are not affected by the current standings. I know several of these teams and my predictions here are not currently or not currently in postseason. If the postseason were to start today, they would not be in the postseason. They're hoping and thankful that the season is much longer than a few weeks. But we'll get to those teams in a bit. So I have the Rangers winning the division, and I didn't. I guess I didn't really break it down by overall seeds in each conference because in the NHL does its playoffs a little differently. So they do it division based, at least for the first couple of rounds, or somewhat division based. So how they do it is you have each division. I maybe should have went into this before I went into my predictions. So each division, the top three teams from each division automatically make the playoffs, and then there are a couple of wild card teams that get in each conference as well. So you got 6 automatic bids of finishing top 3 in your division, and then you get 2 wild card teams in each conference. And so the 2 wild card teams can come from either division. So you can have, in most years, you end up with 4 teams coming out of each of the 2 divisions in each conference. So out of the 4 divisions, you get 4 from each one, creates the 16 playoff teams. But in every now and then you have some years where you have 5 teams come out of one division in a conference and 3 teams come out of the other, because you've got 3 automatic spots. You're going to get 3 teams are automatically going to come out of that division. But you might have a couple of wild card teams that are in another division that they get more points in the standings, but because they didn't finish top 3, they fall into the wild card spot. And so the wild cards they don't have to stay in division for the playoffs. How that works is the highest overall seed in the conference plays the lowest wild card, regardless of division. And then the number 2 seed, and the number 1 seed is one of the division winners, and then the number 2 seed is I guess overall in the conference is technically the team that wins the other division. So each division winner gets to face one of the wild card teams. If you're the number 1 seed in, say, a conference, you get to play the lowest wild card, and the other division winner gets to play the other wild card. Then the other 2 playoff series are done between the teams that finish second and third in each division. They play each other automatically. But in a lot of years, you end up with 4 teams coming out of each division. So oftentimes you will still have the number 1 overall seed face a team from their own division. I think the NHL did this to kind of create postseason rivalries happening more often. Not a huge fan of the format, but that's how it currently is. So normally you end up with 4 teams coming out of each division. You have the 3 automatic bids and the wild cards. So I have the Rangers winning the Metro. I won't go into, well, as I go through this, I'll try and figure out who I have as the 1 and 2 seeds in each conference. But the Rangers winning the Metro. In second, I have the New Jersey Devils. They're a great team. Jack Hughes is a great player. They've been up and coming. They've had for several years now. They've been really bad, but they have made themselves better over the past few years. In fact, I believe they made the postseason last year, and they beat my Rangers, and not so fun series. I thought it was fun. It was just unfortunate that we lost at that. It was unfortunate, but grows the rivalry. But they're a good team. They're going to be back in the postseason. Jack Hughes could be an MVP candidate to look for. So I've got the Devils as the 2 seed, and they might even contend for the 1 seed in that division. Then I have the Carolina Hurricanes. I think they're a good team. Over the past few years, they've been a really solid roster. Some years, I've seen people pick them to win the Stanley Cup. They've got a really good team all around. They're just a solid team. They're a bet to make the playoffs pretty much every year. And then the 4th seed out of that division is going to be a wild card team. We've got the Pittsburgh Penguins. They just missed the playoffs last year. They've still got Sidney Crosby, Chris Letang, Evgeny Malkin. I believe that's how you say his first name. They're a solid team. I know they're a bit older. They're kind of like Kobe and the Lakers at the end of Kobe's career, where it's like, or the Lakers of I guess the early 90s when they had Magic Johnson. It's like, oh, these guys were good, but are they still good? It's kind of what it is. They just missed the playoffs last year. I think they'll get back in this year, but it'll be close. I mean, they'll be in competition with teams like the Islanders and the Capitals. The Capitals really should not be that good of a team this year. But I'm here to talk about the postseason predictions, not go through each team. So those are the 4 teams out of the Metro: Rangers, Devils, Hurricanes, and Penguins. In the Atlantic Division, still staying in the Eastern Conference, the team winning that division, I have the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're a team that's kind of been on the up and up. They have a player that could be an MVP candidate, and Austin Matthews, the highest single season goal scoring record for an American. over 60 goals a couple of years ago. Didn't have quite that year last year, but still a really solid goal scorer. They're going to be a good team again this year, and so I've got them picked to be the 1 seed and or winning the Atlantic. I think them and the Rangers are going to battle it out for 1 and 2, I guess, overall in the East. But that doesn't really matter until you get to like the conference finals. I guess it matters some depending on who you get to play in the wild card, which team gets to play which wild card. But then I've got the Bruins at second, Boston Bruins. They're the President Trophy winners last year, but they got swept by the Florida Panthers, the team that just made it into the postseason at the very end last year. And it was kind of funny because the previous year the Panthers won the President's Trophy, and I believe they went out in the first round. And then kind of the tables turned. Um, they barely got in the postseason and swept the President Trophies winners. And it's funny enough, the Bruins set the single season record for points in a season. And so you might have some people saying, well, they're the best team ever. But as other people would say, they didn't win it. Kind of like the 2001 Mariners in MLB. But it's kind of funny, and that's kind of what I want to say. And this is just because you were good last year or the top seed last year doesn't mean you're going to do it again. It's kind of hard to repeat it. And hockey, and the NHL specifically, is a much it's a league of parity like the NFL in some ways. So then the puck can have a weird hop or bounce, and you score a goal and you win a game. Just kind of how the cards are drawn some nights. And sometimes that extends out through the season a little more. And you also have injuries to think about, and there's a solid salary cap. So teams are often fairly even anyway. So I don't see the Bruins doing what they did last year, but they could. But that's why I have them at 2. I don't. It's hard to repeat that kind of level of success. And the Panthers are a great example. 2 years ago they won the President's Trophy, and last year they barely made the postseason. So I have the Bruins at 2, and 3 I have the Lightning. They're somewhat similar to the Penguins, where they've had recent success, more recently than the Penguins, but they're kind of on the down trend a bit. Some of their veteran players, like Steven Stamkos, are a little older. Um, trying to think of the other player's name. I always blank on this guy's name. They've got Vasilevsky, who is arguably the greatest goaltender in the world, but he's hurt to start the season, so I think that's going to actually hurt them. So they won't be as good for a while. But they have a good coach. They have a lot of great players. I'm How am I not thinking of this guy's name? Like, people are going to beat actual hockey fans, like diehard hockey fans, are going to beat me over the head for not remembering this guy's name. How am I? It's really bothering me that I cannot think of his name. Kucherov. I don't know. Nikita Kucherov. I don't know how I forgot that guy's name. He's a phenomenal player as well. Him, Steven Stamkos, uh, Ter- uh, Terrence Seago, Val- Valens, Valens, Valensky, their goalie. I'm just making myself look like a fool. But they're a solid team all around. Andrei Vasilevsky, yeah, that's how you pronounce it. They're a solid team all around, but with Vasilevsky being injured to start the season, I think that's going to hold them back a bit. And some of their players like Kucherov and Stamkos are older, so that's going to hurt them. But they've got a good head coach in Cooper, so they're still going to be a playoff team. But it'll be interesting to see. A lot of these could go different ways, and these are just my predictions. I'm not a savant. And then in the fourth, in the Atlantic, that's going to be a wild card team. I've got the Florida Panthers. I think they'll make it back there. They've been good enough to make the postseason the last couple of years, so I'm going to have them in there as well. Moving on to the Western Conference, real quick. In the Central Division, which my other team, the Nashville Predators, play in, I unfortunately don't have them making the playoffs. I hope they do. but I don't think that they're good enough to make the playoffs. Winning the Central Division, I have the Colorado Avalanche. They won the Stanley Cup a couple years ago. A lot of people picked them to win it again last year. I think they were the betting favorites, and I believe they might be the betting favorites. No, I believe Vegas is the betting favorites this year. But the Avalanche are up there. A lot of people are betting on them. And I'm not a betting man. I just want to preface that. But the Avalanche are a really good team. They are phenomenal. They are solid all around. There's a reason they won the Stanley Cup a couple years ago. They know how to win hockey games, and it's kind of since they've been in Colorado, I believe they've had pretty good teams almost every year, and they've made the Stanley Cup a couple of times out there, and they've won it a couple of times now. And they've got a phenomenal player in Nathan McKinnon, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. Phenomenal, phenomenal player. When you got a player like him and you can score, you got chances. But they're a solid team all around. They're a better team than just him. But I think they will. I think they'll be strong contenders for the Cup again this year. And the 2 seed, I've got the Dallas Stars. They were a postseason team last year. The Central Division, I think, is of all the divisions in the NHL. I think it's the weakest division. And then you've got the Winnipeg Jets that I think are going to make it as well. I think they're only going to have 3 teams make the postseason. I think they're a little weaker division. Um, I I just I don't see more teams coming out of that division. The Blues are in that division. The Blackhawks, the Predators. Those teams are just not really striking me as postseason teams. And the Blackhawks had the number one overall pick for a reason. They were not very good last year. So I think that division is going to be a little weaker than the other ones. Moving on to the Pacific Division, I've got the defending Las Vegas Golden Knights as the number one seed in that division. And I think they'll probably be the number one seed, I guess, in the West, if you want to call them the number one overall seed in the West. The number 2 seed, I've got the Edmonton Oilers. They have a great team. Well, they really have a great couple of players, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, arguably the two best players in the league on the same team. Great players, great goal scorers. They score a lot of points. But the team seems to lack defense and goaltending over the past few years, and they've struggled at times to make the postseason or advance in the postseason. That seems to be their hiccup. But I think with their talent that they will still make their way into the postseason. I know this is one of the teams that they are towards the bottom of the standings right now as I'm making this video. But these are predictions that I kind of made like a week or two ago, or were working on a week or two ago, kind of where I think teams will be, and I think they will find their way into the postseason. They're too good of a team with the players that they have to not make the postseason. So I have them as the 2 seed, and I'd like to see them have some success. You like to see great players like that have success. Then I've got the Los Angeles Kings. They made the postseason last year, and I believe they played the Golden Knights in a series last year. You had the Knights and Kings playing each other in the playoffs. I think they'll make the playoffs again this year. I have them as the 3 seed here. So they'll be facing the Oilers in the first round. And then the two wildcard teams in the West, I've got the Calgary Flames and the Seattle Kraken. The Seattle Kraken made the postseason last year. Their first year, was it their first year in existence last year? I feel like it was their first year in existence, but they made the postseason last year, so I have them making it again this year. I think the West is maybe slightly weaker than the East, but I think they've got two heavy juggernauts towards the top with the Avalanche and Golden Knights. The Golden Knights won the Cup last year for a reason. They have is it Jack Eichel, I believe, that they traded for last year. If I can pull up their roster real quick, if ESPN will cooperate with me. It's not wanting to cooperate with me. Yes, Jack Eichel. I believe he won the Conn Smythe last year as well. They traded for him from the Buffalo Sabres. Great player, one of the better players in the NHL, and they're one of the better teams because they have him. And them and the Avalanche with McKinnon, they're gonna be I think the top two teams in the West to look out for. So I'm gonna go. I believe I picked a President's Trophy winner. Did I not? Thought I wrote it down. I'm gonna go with the President Trophy's winner as Colorado Avalanche. I think they're a great team, and it's just gonna be their year. They're going to edge out a few other teams for that. I think we'll have several teams competing for that. I don't think it'll be quite the blowout that the Boston Bruins put on last year. And then, yeah, we'll go into my postseason awards real quick before I go to my Stanley Cup prediction. So for the Hart Trophy, which is the NHL's MVP award, I've got Jack Hughes, a great player with the New Jersey Devils, a young player in the league. I don't think they're going to give it to Connor McDavid again. He won it last year, and he's won it a few times now. And I think that fatigue of voting for him every year is going to wear out, and they're going to give it to someone else. So I think Jack Hughes is a good candidate for that. Phenomenal young player in the league with the Devils. I think McDavid will be in the running though. He's won several Art Ross trophies, which is the most points scored in a season. He's won that several times. He's won the MVP several times. He's obviously the best player in the league. He's going to be in contention for that. You're going to have players like Leon Draisaitl, contention for that. Jack Eichel, perhaps. Nathan McKinnon. You're going to have other players like that in contention for it. But I kind of think it'll be Jack Hughes. I think it'll be Jack Hughes' year. I think the Devils are going to have a really good year, and as a result of that, Hughes is going to win the MVP. For the Vezina, I'm going with Igor Shesterkin. I know that is a little homer of me to do that. Igor Shesterkin is the goalie for the Rangers, but he did win it a couple years ago, and he is one of the better goaltenders in the league. And I kind of think he's going to win another Vezina, where Henrik Lundqvist, the previous great and Hall of Fame goalie for the Rangers, only won one. Probably should have won another one at some point. I kind of feel like Igor is going to win a second Vezina, and more than likely it will happen sooner rather than later. And I think over the past few years he's been one of the better goaltenders anyway, so I'm leaning towards him to win it again. If Vasilevsky wasn't hurt to start the season, I would maybe consider him because over the last, I think, is it 4 or 5 years now, he leads the league in wins by quite a margin. But he's hurt, is going to miss quite a bit of time, so I'm leaning towards Igor Shesterkin to win the Vezina Trophy for best goaltender in the league. At the Art Ross Trophy, which that's the leading point scorer, points is goals plus assists, so you get 1 point for a goal, 1 point for an assist. That gives you your point totals on the season. I'm going to pick Connor McDavid to win that. He's won the last few, it seems like. He's won a lot already, and he's only like 26. I'm going to pick him to win that again. I think he's the best player in the league for a reason. The Norris Trophy winner goes to the best defenseman, and I'm picking Roman Josi. I believe he was a finalist last year. He was one of the better defensemen last year. I'm picking him to win it. He's the defenseman for the Predators. I should also mention Connor McDavid several times now. He plays for the Oilers, if I didn't already mention that to my non-NHL fans. Roman Josi plays defenseman for the Predators. He's a fan favorite there. He was kind of in the running last year. I like his chances to win it again this year, especially now that Adam Fox is injured and is going to miss some time with the Rangers, even though it might not be terribly long. I will preface this. I'm not picking Roman Josi because Adam Fox is hurt. Roman Josi was in contention last year for it. I think he could win it this year, and I don't want this to simply be the Rangers show where I pick everything for the Rangers, even though I might pick a few more things for the Rangers. The Ted Lindsay Award goes to the NHL's player of the year, essentially. I believe the players actually vote on this. And I'm picking Austin Matthews to win this award. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year with the Maple Leafs and is going to be considered one of the best players in the league again. And he could be in contention for the MVP. And I don't see him competing for the Art Ross Trophy as much because he's much more of a goal scorer than getting assists. And so that's going to hurt him in that. But I think he could be in contention for the MVP as well. And then the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy, that goes to the leading goal scorer in the league. I'm picking Austin Matthews to win that award as well. Even though he's quite nowhere near that at the moment. I know we're a few weeks into the season, but he's my pick to win it. Led the league a couple years ago in goal scoring. I think he'll get back there again. The Calder Trophy goes to the Rookie of the Year in the NHL, and I've got Connor Bedard for the Blackhawks to win that. I'm not as much a hockey fan as some of you out there probably are, so this is this pick is a little more on what people are saying and writing articles on. So that pick is yeah, he was the number one pick in the draft for a reason. A lot of people have him picked to be the Calder winner. So he's who I went to win the Rookie of the Year. The Jack Adams Award goes to the best coach. I picked Peter Laviolette for the Rangers. He's mostly because this is his first year with the Rangers. And I don't think he's coached in a couple of years. So if the Rangers have a good year, I could see him winning Coach of the Year. But the writers might also look at that and be like, the Rangers are a good team. Almost anyone could coach this team and do well. So it could go either way. I hope he wins it. I would like to see Rangers win awards. Hopefully the biggest award, though, the Stanley Cup. Now I'm going to go into how I think the postseason will turn out. I'm not going to go through the individual series. That would take too long, and this would drag on. But my Eastern Conference champion, I'm going to have the New York Rangers beating the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Eastern Conference Championship. In the Western Conference Championship, I'm going to have the Las Vegas Golden Knights winning the West over the Colorado Avalanche to go back to the finals to defend their Stanley Cup. And I have winning the Stanley Cup the New York Rangers, and I'm going to go say they win it in 6 games. That is a little biased. So to compensate you for feeling like I'm a homer, I've picked a dark horse Stanley Cup, how I think an alternate Stanley Cup could go as well, with the Avalanche and the Maple Leafs playing one another, and I'd say the Maple Leafs win. That's my dark horse Stanley Cup. That's another outcome I would like to see happen. The Maple Leafs haven't won it since, I believe, 1967. So it'd be fun to see them win it for the first time forever and their fans celebrate. But I know a lot of hockey fans don't like the Maple Leafs because the league seems to favor the Maple Leafs a lot because the headquarters is in Toronto. So I get that. I understand the somewhat dislike for the Maple Leafs, but I kind of feel sorry for their fans. And I have the Rangers winning the Stanley Cup and the Conn Smythe, which is the playoff MVP. It's not the finals MVP, the playoff MVP. I'm picking Artemi Panarin for the Rangers. I think he's gonna get rid of those playoff woes of years past and actually have a phenomenal postseason for the Rangers. This is a little more how I want it to go, how I hope it will go. Predictions rarely go that way, as we've seen with my MLB predictions and somewhat with my NFL predictions so far. But hopefully hopefully the Rangers can win it. But if not, maybe the Maple Leafs can win it, or maybe your team could win it. But that's all I got for this video. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up down there, hit the subscribe, ring that little bell, whatever they do down below the video. Do that, or comment, tell me what your predictions are, who you think will win the Stanley Cup, who's going to win the MVP this year or Coach of the Year. Who is your team? Are they going to be good this year? Who knows? Let me know down in the comments. All right, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.